back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net would encourage everyone this week to get out to the buyatoyota.com audio vault and hear from all of our guests. If you heard Clark Judge this week and Howard Balzer, as well as Matt Skur, who we had out at Jennings Cafe on Tuesday night with Dennis Colazzos, he'll be here on Thursday. This guy is into the prime season. I must say, Robert Canady, I thought of you when I was bellied up to the Cock and Bull Bar at Covington, Kentucky, ordering fish and chips and watching late-night Saturday night basketball on the satellite dish as the Maryland Terps took on Rhode Island. I know you were out at the Towson game. There's something a little comforting about basketball being played. I was over at Catonsville the other night. They had Bob Dylan in the UMBC arena, but they're also playing basketball. It's this is the good season, right? And interesting matchups and sort of weird things going on, and the stakes aren't all that high, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of great non-conference ball being going on this time of year, and the Maryland Rhode Island you watched. I thought about trying to make it down to Comcast that night, but it was a little late on a Saturday night with that 9:00 tip, But anyway, I watched that on TV as well, and then was out at Towson Center on Monday night to see really what was a great non-conference game between Towson and Kent State. Went into overtime, and a lot of times these non-conference games are against Division II, 3 opponents, or lower level 1. But that was really a great mid-major game for November. It almost had a February, March type feel with it. As far as the crowd, the good sized crowd was there. Went into overtime, so definitely getting some good basketball being played early in the season here. And Towson, which I'm sure we'll talk about, they have a really tough road, literally tough road ahead of them the next week, as well as some of the other teams.
Well, Florida, well. Xavier, right? And so where does Towson go from here?
Well, they'll find out a lot this week coming up. They're definitely improved over last year. With the 10 new faces last year, it was a year of transition, and they've got a lot of that back, and they've got a couple really good freshmen that, are freshmen, this time of year, but they're showing really good promise. And, are they going to go down and beat Florida? No. Are they going to go into the tournament in Charleston and probably beat Xavier? Probably not, but if nothing
lining
else,
up ranked teams, right? I mean, literally, you're gonna measure yourself against that in a way that you're not going to get to during the season when you're playing conference games.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess, just like in the gym, if you practice with 50-pound weights and then it gets time to, lift a 20-pound weight, it doesn't feel so bad, So by the time they get to the conference season in January, playing these teams, that are not, they're going to be more like the Kent State that they played Monday night than they will be like the Floridas and the Xaviers. So it's definitely a good preparation for it. And this time of year, like you said, a lot of teams are doing the tournaments. UMBC has one coming up that they'll be doing. It starts as one of the home games, and then they actually go away on the road to continue it. So, great time of year to get the season kicked off with a lot of interesting games across the board for everyone.
Well, I mean, we always know Coppin, who we are partners with, and we broadcast the games, taking on, the road schedule and the money games. And we've talked so much in recent weeks about a lot of that kind of going away, and even Maryland not taking on bigger opponents despite the Rhode Island thing the other day. There's the little lesser lights on Turgeon's schedule. But Coppin gets a huge win and beats Loyola on Tuesday night. And we're excited about that, obviously, with our partnership with Coppin State and Juan. It's been a long time coming, with 6 years. But to beat as they say, the real Loyola of Illinois, right?
Right. I mean, a team that was, in the Final Four just, a couple of years ago. And, so that's on the road. And, they've got a great tradition there, great atmosphere they play in at home. And
very disappointed sister this morning, right?
Yes, she's not too happy probably. So, to go in there and get a win is, definitely a sign. We've talked a little bit, early this year and even into late last year when Coppin was playing well, heading into their conference tournament, he's got things headed the right direction, definitely. And I even sensed that talking to Juan at the media day earlier this year that, there was just confidence in talking to him this year that you didn't see last year, and everyone buying in. And, he's got Juan Clayton, which he bragged about him a lot during the preseason. And, he came up big the other night with 21 points against Loyola. And, as far as, when at that level, if you have a guard that, it was not a senior, he's a junior, but you got, leadership and, an upperclassman at guard, you can do a lot of good things, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. Hopefully they can take that and build on it and, get a couple more wins. They have another tough one later this weekend at Northern Illinois and Northern Kentucky. They're making that little, I guess, Midwestern road swing. So those, again, two more tough games coming up there, so we'll see how they do with those.
UMBC has a tough one at LSU next week. They won at Florida Gulf Coast. They're taking on some team called Georgian Court. I have no idea who the hell it is. St. Mary's as well. But LSU on the schedule on the 19th. That'll be a real nice test for them. And as we've talked about, they have some trouble scheduling some games, although they do play Georgetown and George Mason through the holiday, and also locally playing Towson and Coppin, and going up playing Drexel as well, American down at DC. But UMBC is going to go to LSU. I mean, all these local teams playing the ranked teams, seeing the Xaviers, seeing the Floridas, seeing the big dogs, and Maryland being one of the big dogs, of course.
Yeah, and that's, the LSU, that's a good chance, just like I said, that's up there on the level with Towson playing at Florida. Good thing these aren't football games, I guess. Otherwise we're not sure how the results would be for that Florida Towson game. But going to LSU, UMBC's got the name from a couple years ago, so I'm sure there'll be some interest down there, to see them come in. And they had a really good win at Florida Gulf Coast. Again, a lot of people may not remember them from a couple years back, 3 or 4 years back, when they made a deep run into March, with the Doctors of Dunk and everything, and had an exciting team to watch.
Former Hopkins coach there, right? Exactly.
Yeah, Andy Edfield, exactly. And so Gulf Coast came in and beat UMBC last year at UMBC, so it was really, that's a really good win to go down there and win that. And they've been playing without their leading scorer from last year, KJ Jackson. Has been out, hasn't played so far this year, and RJ Idlerock, their point guard from last year. So they're doing this with a lot of new faces and a couple transfers and some freshmen, and they hope once they get those pieces back, headed into the later part of the non-conference season and the conference, they should be good to go. But they definitely have. They've they've done a good balancing job with their schedule. They've got some of the toughies, like we've mentioned, with the LSUs and the Drexels and the Georgetowns, mixed in with these Georgian Courts and St. Mary's. So a little bit of everything in the non-conference, you see.
Robert Canady joining us here. He is our college basketball insider, of course, at Compass Point Golf. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. He can plan your corporate event or take care of you with a beverage over there in the driving range. 36 beautiful holes at Compass Point when the weather is a little better, certainly hopefully better than maybe Monday and Tuesday. I know you'll go out there and hit it when it's 20 below, but a lot of folks need it to be 52 or greater to go out there and do that. You guys have the turkey shoot coming up in a couple of weeks as well. I want to point that out. You can learn all about what they do at compasspointgolf.com. And, of course, you can find Robert there as well as Buckets and Birds and here every week. Usually on Wednesdays we get together and try to talk a little basketball. The Maryland thing. Let's go back to me having that lousy fish and chips at the Cock and Bull in Covington, Kentucky, and the game being on. I'm not asleep on this, and I looked returning starters, and you and I talked about this next week. It feels like the Terps are kind of stacked, man. They're number 7 in the country. I hope they don't lose to a George Mason or a Temple or a Notre Dame or stub their toe here. But the stubbing of the toes begins probably week after next, and then bang, here comes the Big Ten. Penn State, Seton Hall's a ranked team. They're going to see them. Ohio State is a better thought of. They'll see them early in 2020. But over the next 6 or 8 weeks, I'm wondering how high they can climb or how quickly they can fall if they stub their toe against George Mason,
Yeah, that'll be something to see. They're already up there, as we mentioned, with the number 7 ranking, so they're in position to hold that or even move up with a couple key wins, here over the next 4 weeks or so. Again, like you said, as long as they don't fall asleep and stumble against one of these teams, and against Rhode Island, which was Rhode Island's a good Atlantic 10 team that they played Saturday night, and for the better part of that game, they didn't look great, and they had some of their old bugaboos, poor shooting and turnovers, kind of were showing themselves for a while. And, then as does happen a lot with Maryland, kind of talent took over, Sticks got going, and, you got the senior leadership in Callan and everything now. The freshmen last year, Ayala, Wiggins, they're all sophomores now. So, they come back to more year experience. So talent-wise, experience-wise, they have everything you should look for to be a top 10 team. And, we'll see that. How that all plays out come January and February will be the important time, but it'll be interesting to watch them over some of these games that they have coming up. Particularly against maybe a Mason, or a Notre Dame, the first part of December. So, but yeah, they definitely have the talent to justify the ranking where they're at, and then we'll see if how it all comes together on the court.
Robert Canady joining us here. He is Buckets and Birds. What's going on down at Compass Point? You have been out there sub 40 hitting it, or no?
I have not. Ever since I'm still shaking off the rust from being out in San Diego and used to that 75 degrees weather, so I haven't not been able to bring myself out to play yet. This week is when it was really cold. We had a few people out there, but I still think we'll get a little bit of a warm spell. So we usually do somewhere in late November to early December every year. It seems like we get a span of 60-degree days for 2 or 3 days at a time. So there's still plenty of golf to be played out here. You mentioned the turkey shoot. The sign-ups for that are going really fast and strong, so people are looking forward to that the Friday after Thanksgiving. And again, as long as there's not snow on the ground, the course is open, and the diehards will come out and play. So we even have a couple fun events coming up in January and February. We'll talk about as we get closer to them, but try to do little like snowman challenges and everything for the strong of heart during those months.
Hit the orange ball into the white snowbank. How about that?
Something like that, yeah. Wear the mufflers and the overcoats and get out and play. So, but no, it's still golf season as far as we're concerned. It may not be the beautiful weather, but the course is open, so we encourage anyone to come out any chance they get.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. I know you're out there watching a lot of basketball. I know it's your time of the year. I almost sent you a text from the bar because I was – but you know why I didn't send you a text? I forgot my phone charger, and I literally was sitting there during the Terps game on a Saturday night, like tweeting and stuff, and I realized – oh, my God, I don't have my phone charger on this trip, so I had to put my phone away. Otherwise, I would have texted you and given you a little beer cheer and say, hey, it's basketball season, because I knew you were, this is your jam. So I'm excited about – what I'm excited about? Towson, UMBC, the Terps, they could all be kind of good, right? I mean – there's potential. Yeah. We haven't had that. We haven't had a bunch of decent teams around here. Matter of fact, we've had more barren wasteland than we've had legitimately 2 or 3 teams that can get bids, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talked early this season. You asked me who was going to be good, and I said, I took the easy way out and said we'll have to wait and see. And right now, all 3 of them look like, and throw in Coppin as well with that win. If they're able to, add to that and get some other non-conference wins here, it could be a fun time watching all these teams come conference season. So we got a lot to look forward to this year.
Appreciate you, Robert Canady. He is Buckets and Birds. He's at Compass Point. He's hitting the golf ball, figuring out fun things to do in the winter, and watching a lot of basketball, hearing the squeak of the sneakers out on the hardwoods. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault. Luke's out in Owings Mills. We're getting ready for Houston coming in here this week. I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, big trip next week to L.A. You can hear Matt Skur out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault, as well as all of our Baltimore positive stuff, including Lena Wen, Maggie McIntosh, Wes Moore next week. Great stuff we've been doing at Baltimore Positive to augment Baltimore's best sports coverage. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.